"Do you want a Labrador?" I asked. But nobody did. I looked in the newspapers. They were full of ads from people within dogs, and a lot of the ads were for Labradors. These people paid a lot of money for their dogs, I thought. But now they're looking for new homes for them. Labradors are too difficult, too big and strong. Marley wasn't an easy dog. He wasn't obedient and he broke things. But we brought him to our home when he was a puppy. He loved us and we loved him. He was our dog. I took Marley back to the obedience class. A different teacher was there now. This time things went better. I said, "Sit," and Marley sat. I put the chain around his neck and he walked quietly next to me. I said, "Stay," and he stayed. I walked away from him, but he didn't move. Then I turned and said, "Come." Marley ran quickly to me. "Good boy, Marley." I said, good boy." At the end of the 8 weeks, the teacher gave me a paper. It said, "Marley did well in the obedience class." I was very happy. On the way home, I sang after this. A wonderful thing happened. Jenny got better. She stopped being sad and was strong and happy. She was a good mother to Patrick and Connor, and she was kind to Marley again. She danced around the room with him. Sometimes at night when he was quiet, she lay on the floor with him, her head on his neck. Jenny's here with us again, Bob, I thought. That's great. Chapter 6. Marley makes a movie. Jenny's friend Colleen worked for a film company. One day Colleen called Jenny. "My company is making a film about a family in Florida," she said. "They want pictures of a family home. Can I come and take some pictures of your house?" Colleen came and took photos of our home and the children and of Marley too. She showed them to her boss, Bob Goss. Some days later, Jenny called me at work. "Bob Gossie is making a movie about a family with a dog," she said excitedly. "So he's looking for a dog, a big family dog. He saw Colleen's photos and he's interested in Marley." "Really?" I said. "You mean Marley?" "Our Marley." The next day Colleen came to our house and took Marley to her boss. 2 hours later she brought him back again. Marley was great. She said, everybody loved him. Some days later the company started filming. Bring Marley to the Gulfstream Hotel at 9 o'clock. Bob Gossie told us. We put the children and Marley into the car and drove to the hotel. A lot of people stood outside. The police were there too. One of the policemen looked inside the car. He saw Jenny, 2 small children and a large dog. "You can't come this way," he said. "You have to turn back." "But we're with the film company," I said. "Our dog is in the movie." "Really?" the police officer said. Then he looked at a paper in his hand. "You have the dog." Marley's name was on the paper. "I have the dog," I said. "Marley the dog." "Oh," said the policeman. He turned to another policeman and shouted, "He has the dog. Marley the dog." Then he turned to us again. "You can come in," he said. I felt very important. Marley was famous. The cameraman started to film Marley, but Marley wasn't obedient. He ran and jumped. He chewed through his leash. "Cut, cut, cut!" shouted Bob Goss. At the end of the day we took Marley home. "Marley," I said sadly, "you're not going to be famous." But the next day the film company called again. "Please bring Marley back here," they said. When we got back to the hotel, Bob Goss said, "On film Marley was great." Marley had a very good time with the people in the film company. Everybody played with him and petted him. After 4 days the cameraman stopped filming. "Call us after 8 months, said Bob Goss. "The movie will be ready then." After 8 months we called the company. The name of the movie was The Last Home Run, but we couldn't learn anything about it. I called the company again and again. 2 years later I was in a store and there were a lot of movies on the shelves. Suddenly I saw The Last Home Run. Marley's movie. I bought it and took it home. "Come and watch this," I shouted to Jenny and the children. We saw Marley in the movie. He was only there for 2 minutes, but it was very exciting. We all laughed and cried. "We're famous," shouted Patrick. Marley's name came at the end of the film. In big letters it said, "Marley the dog." Sometime later we said goodbye to our home in West Palm Beach. The place got more and more dangerous and our house was too small for 2 children and a large dog. So we moved to a bigger house in another city, Boca Raton. A lot of rich people lived in Boca Raton. They had expensive cars, big houses, and beautiful clothes. There were many good things about our new house. Near the house was a small park, but best of all it had a pool. We all loved the pool, but Marley loved it most. He jumped in with me and climbed on me. But there was a problem with the garage in our new house. It had no windows and it got very hot in summer, so we couldn't put Marley in it when there was a thunderstorm. I took Patrick and Connor to the pet store and we bought a strong cage for Marley. We put it next to the washing machine. I put some food in the cage. "Come here, Marley," I called. Marley went inside and I closed the door of the cage after him. He lay down on the floor and chewed his food happily. "This is going to be your new home when we're away," I said. That evening we went out for dinner. Before we left I opened the door of the cage. Marley walked inside and I closed the door. "Be a good boy, Marley." I said we had dinner in a restaurant, then we went for a walk. "This is great," said Jenny. "We can forget about Marley. We know he's fine in the cage." She smiled happily. We went home and walked to the front door. I looked at the window next to it. Something was there. In the window. Something black and wet. It was Marley's nose. "What's that?" I said. "How could Marley?" When I opened the front door, Marley ran to us happily. Everything in the house was fine. Then we looked at the cage. The door was open. "But how did Marley get out?" asked Jenny. "He opened the door from inside," I said. "He's smart and he's very strong." Day after day when we left the house we put Marley into the cage. When we came home sometimes he was there. Sometimes he was at the window. We tried to make the cage stronger, but Marley was stronger than the cage. When he wanted to get out, he pushed the door open. Chapter 7. The World's Worst Dog. Many people in Boca Raton had dogs, but their dogs were very different from Marley. Most of these dogs were very, very small. Rich women carried them in their handbags and took them into expensive stores and in their fast cars. Marley wanted very much to be friends with these small dogs, but the dogs didn't want to be friends with Marley. The weather in Boca Raton was very good, so lots of restaurants had tables and chairs outside. Customers brought their dogs with them to the restaurants. People ate their food or drank coffee and their dogs lay quietly on the ground. One Sunday afternoon we went out for lunch. We parked our car and walked up and down the street. Many other people were out with their dogs too. Marley walked next to me on his leash. We found a restaurant and sat down outside. I put Marley's leash around one of the legs of the strong, heavy table. The waiter came and we asked for some drinks. Then Jenny held up her glass happily. "To a beautiful day with my beautiful family," she said. Suddenly our table started to move. It moved quickly between the other tables and the other customers. "What's happening?" I thought. Then I saw a small white dog across the street. "Marley's going to that dog," I shouted. "We have to stop him." We jumped up and ran after Marley in the table. "Sorry, sorry, sorry," we shouted to the other customers. I ran and grabbed the table. Jenny grabbed it too. We held it and it stopped moving. I turned around and saw the faces of the other customers. Everybody looked at us with their mouths open. We carried the table back to its place and a waiter came. "I'll get some more drinks for you," he said. "No," I said, "Jenny. We'll pay for our drinks and leave." Jenny and I had another baby. This time it was a girl and we named her Colleen. When Colleen was 2 months old, I had my 40th birthday. I wanted to do something exciting on my birthday, but it was a very quiet day. When I arrived home from work, Jenny was tired. By 8:30, all 3 children were asleep and Jenny was too. I felt a little sad. I took a drink outside. I sat and looked at the ocean. Marley lay on the ground next to me. I thought about my life. Then I thought about Marley. He wasn't a puppy now. He was 6 years old, but he loved life and he was very happy. "Marley," I said, "it's only you and me tonight." I held up my glass. "We're not young, but we're having a good time." Some days later, my friend Jim called me. "Let's go out for a drink on Saturday," he said. Jim came for me at 6 o'clock and we went out to a bar. We talked and laughed. Then the barman called out, "Is John Grogan here?" "There's a phone call for John Grogan." It was Jenny. "The baby's crying," she said. "Can you come and help me?" "I'll take you home," Jim said. When we turned into my street, I saw a lot of cars. "Somebody's having a party," I said. Jim stopped the car outside my house and I invited him inside. Then, suddenly, the front door opened. Jenny stood there with Colleen in her arms. She had a big smile on her face. I looked into the yard. There were lots of people around the pool, my friends and neighbors. "Happy birthday, John," they shouted. I wanted to take Marley to the beach. You couldn't take pets onto most beaches in South Florida, but one small beach was different. Everybody called it Dog Beach. On Dog Beach, dogs could run freely. They didn't have to be on a leash. One morning in June, I took Marley to Dog Beach. There were lots of people with dogs, but the dogs were on leashes. What happened? I asked a man. The police came, the men said. We have to use a leash. So I walked Marley on his leash. But I felt sorry for him. After our walk, I gave Marley a bowl of water. Then a man arrived with a big black dog. It looked dangerous. Don't be afraid of him, said the man. This is Killer, but he's very friendly. He doesn't fight other dogs. I told the man about the police. That's stupid, he shouted. This is Dog Beach. He took off Killer's leash and Killer ran into the water. Marley looked at Killer, and then he looked at me. I could read his thoughts. Please, 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 I'll be good. But then Marley started to drink from the ocean. Stop that, Marley, I cried. You'll be sick. But Marley didn't listen to me, and he didn't stop drinking. Then he started to turn around in the water. Oh no. I thought I ran into the water, but it was too late. Marley pooped everywhere. Hey! Somebody shouted angrily. Get your dog. Marley, no. I shouted. I could feel everybody's eyes on me and on Marley. No, Marley, no, 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 no. Marley's poop was everywhere. The other people grabbed their dogs. Marley came out of the dirty water and looked at me happily. But we had to leave. That wasn't nice, the men with Killer said. Sorry, I said. I put Marley's leash on him. Other dogs didn't drink water from the ocean. Marley wasn't a bad dog, but sometimes he did stupid things. What's wrong with you, Marley? I said on the drive home. Sometimes you're the worst dog in the world. I never took Marley to the beach again. Chapter 8. We move north. When Colleen was 2 years old, I got a job with a magazine in Pennsylvania in the northeast of the United States. We were ready for a change from Florida. There were too many people and cars. The weather was always hot, with a lot of thunderstorms. We wanted to live in a quiet place in the country. We wanted to see summer, winter, spring, and fall. Most of all, we wanted to see snow. Our new home was very beautiful. There was a small river near our house and there were woods all around it. Marley was very happy. Fi loved playing in the woods and running after small animals. 3 weeks after New Year, it snowed. The children were very excited because it was their first time. We put on warm jackets and ran outside. Marley followed us. Marley was very funny in the snow. He fell down all the time. Snow lay on his fur and his face. I could only see a black nose and 2 brown eyes. I could read his thoughts. I don't understand. What's this? It feels so cold and wet. But then Marley jumped up again. He ran around the yard and jumped through the snow. The children laughed happily and Marley was happy too. We had a great time. It was almost the end of our first winter in Pennsylvania. We were very happy in our new house. But Marley was 9 years old now. He moved more slowly and he slept for most of the day. Sometimes when I took him for a walk, he got very tired. His fur in many places was gray, not yellow. Life with Marley wasn't easy. He cost us a lot of money. He ate a lot of food and he broke a lot of our things. We could never change him. We knew that. But he was one of our family. He loved us and we loved him. That spring I said to Jenny, "Let's get some farm animals." "Okay," she said. "But we don't have a place for big animals. Let's get some chickens. Then we can have eggs every day." Jenny talked to one of the moms at the children's school. Donna lived on a farm. She gave Jenny 4 baby chickens. The chickens lived in a box in the kitchen. They ate and pooped. Then they ate some more and they got bigger. One morning I woke up early when I heard a call from downstairs. Cock-a-doodle-doo. I woke Jenny up and asked, "What's that noise?" "Oh," she said. "I don't know." She turned over and slept. Every morning the chickens made a lot of noise. Sometimes they made loud noises very near Marley. Marley was usually afraid of loud noises, but he didn't move away from the chickens. That's strange, I thought. Can't Marley hear the chickens? One afternoon when Marley was asleep in the kitchen I walked up behind him. "Marley," I said. But Marley didn't move. "Marley," I said again. Nothing. "Marley," I shouted. Marley turned. He stood up and wagged his tail. Oh no, I thought. Marley can't hear. But Marley could hear some things. When we put food in his bowl, he always heard the sound of his dinner. He ran in from the next room. Marley was always hungry. He ate 4 big bowls of dog food every day and he also ate our food. Labradors are big dogs and Marley was a very large Labrador. But he never got fat. One day I came home from work early and I went into the kitchen. Marley was there. He didn't see me and he didn't hear me. There was a sandwich on the kitchen table. Marley stood up and put his paws on the table. Then he ate the sandwich. "What are you doing, Marley?" I asked. "You were a bad dog." But he didn't hear me. He ate the sandwich happily. I put my hand on Marley's fur and he jumped. When he saw me he lay down on the floor. He looked up at me and I started to laugh. I couldn't be angry with Marley. He was old now and he couldn't hear. I couldn't change him. The chickens weren't afraid of Marley and he never tried to catch them. They walked around the yard and Marley went with them. Chapter 9. Marley gets older. Jenny and I had a good life. Our children were young. We felt young too. But when we looked at Marley we saw many changes. The years went past and he was 12 years old. By this time he couldn't hear anything. His fur was gray. His teeth were brown. Late one night I took Marley outside for his walk before bed. It was winter and there was a cold rain. I went back into the house for my jacket. When I came out again Marley wasn't there. I looked for him everywhere but I couldn't find him. I went back inside. Then I walked upstairs and woke up Jenny. "I can't find Marley," I said. "He's out there in the rain." Jenny pulled on her jeans and shoes and we went outside again. I walked slowly through the woods and called for Marley. Jenny went a different way. We were very wet and cold. "Let's go home and get warm," I said. "I'll get the car and come out again." We walked back to our house. Suddenly we saw Marley. He stood outside the house out of the rain. When he saw us, he was very happy. I felt angry with him, but then I was happy too. I brought him inside and dried him. Marley was very tired. He went to sleep and woke up at noon the next day. Marley couldn't see well now. His fur started to fall out too. Jenny cleaned the house every day, but his hairs were everywhere. But Marley's biggest problem was his hips. They hurt him a lot and he couldn't move quickly. He couldn't climb the stairs easily, but he tried to follow us everywhere. Marley had good days and bad days. One spring evening I took him for a short walk around the yard. The night was cold and there was a light wind. I ran and Marley ran with me. "Marley," I said, "you're a puppy again." We ran back to the house. There were 2 small stairs in front of the door. When Marley tried to climb the stairs, he fell down. He lay on the stairs and looked sadly up at me. Marley was too heavy for me. I couldn't carry him, so I had to push him up the stairs. Then he stood up and went into the house. When I looked at Marley, I thought, we only have one life and it can change very quickly. I enjoyed my job on the magazine, but I really wanted to work for a newspaper again. Newspapers were more exciting and I liked writing about big stories. I also liked getting letters and calls from readers. A friend told me about a job on the Philadelphia Inquirer. This was one of the best newspapers in the United States. I wrote to the newspaper and I got the job. I was very happy. In the summer, Jenny visited her sister in Boston. She took the children with her. I didn't go because I was busy with my new job. Every day I was away from home for 10 or 12 hours, so we took Marley to a vacation home for dogs. Some days later, an animal doctor called me from the home. "I'm sorry," she said, "but Marley's very sick." When he saw the other dogs, he got very excited. He ate his food too quickly. Then he had a bad problem with his stomach and he almost died. He's a little better now, but it will happen again. "Oh," I said, "what are you saying? Do you want us to help end Marley's life?" She said, "I'm sorry." "Oh," I said, "I couldn't think. I have to talk to my wife." I called Jenny in Boston and we had a long conversation about Marley. In the end, Jenny said, "The doctor's right. We have to do the best thing for Marley." I called the doctor back. "Yes, Marley's a very old dog." I said, "Life isn't so good for him now. He doesn't have many teeth and he can't hear. His hips hurt him too." "Yes," she said. "Maybe we have to put him to sleep, but I'll call you again in an hour." When the doctor called again, she said, "Marley's a very sick dog, but he isn't getting worse." The next morning she called again. "We can wait." She said, "Marley's eating. You can take him home tomorrow." I was very happy. The next evening after work I went to the dog's home. Marley was very thin and weak. I thanked the doctor. Everybody here loves Marley. She said. One of the workers helped me put Marley into the car. Then I drove him home. He couldn't climb the stairs to the bedroom and I didn't want to leave him. So that night I put a sleeping bag on the floor and lay down next to him. Tomorrow Jenny and the children are coming back. I said, but tonight Marley, it's only you and me. I thought about my first night with Marley when he was a small puppy. That night he cried for his mother. And then he slept in a box next to my bed. Now, 13 years later, here we were again. I put out my hand and petted him. In the next weeks, Marley got a little better. A lot of the time he lay on the floor in the family room asleep in the sun. But one morning when I was in the bedroom, I heard a noise. Then Connor shouted, "Help!" Marley fell down the stairs. Marley lay at the bottom of the stairs. Jenny and I ran to him, but then he got up and walked away. Marley had a bad fall, I told the children. But he's okay. But Marley was hurt. When I got home from work that evening, he couldn't move. When he saw me, he tried to get up, but he fell down again on the floor. I don't think Marley can go upstairs again, I said. But I was wrong. The next day I was upstairs at my computer in my bedroom when I heard a sound. I turned around. Marley stood at the bedroom door. "Marley," I said, "what are you doing here?" I went to him and petted him. Then I looked into his eyes. "Marley," I said, "you're going to tell me when it's time, right?" Chapter 10. A Great Dog. Winter arrived early that year. The children waited for the snow. Can Marley live through another winter? I thought Jenny and I took the children to Disney World in Florida. It was their first Christmas away from home and they were very excited. Jenny took Marley to the animal doctor's office. They gave him a home there and watched him carefully. We had a great family vacation, but on the way home somebody called us from the doctor's office. "Marley's very tired," she said, "and his hips are really hurting him." The next day Jenny went for Marley. He got out of the car, but he couldn't walk into the house. He lay on the ground outside. Jenny called me at work. "I can't get Marley inside." She said, "He can't get up." I left my office and went home. When I arrived, Marley was inside the house, but he was very sick. He lay on the floor. For the first time in 13 years he didn't get up when he saw me. His eyes followed me, but he didn't move his head. I looked at his stomach. It was very big. I called the animal doctors. "Bring Marley here now," a young woman doctor said. I looked at Jenny and she looked at me. "Marley has to go to the hospital," we told the children. "The doctors are going to try to make him better, but he's very sick." With Jenny's help I put Marley into the back of the car. He lay on the floor. I petted his head. "Oh Marley," I said again and again. At the hospital I helped him out of the car and took him inside. The young doctor took him away. Then she came back and showed me some pictures of the inside of Marley's stomach. "I'm very sorry," she said quietly. "We can't do anything for Marley now." "I understand," I said. "Please can I say goodbye to him?" "Yes, of course," she said. "Have as much time with him as you want." Marley was asleep. I got down next to him and ran my fingers through his fur. I held up each ear in my hands. I opened his mouth and looked at his teeth. Then I held up his front paw. I want you to understand something, Marley, I said. Sometimes we called you the world's worst dog, but you're not. We never told you this before, but you're a great dog, Marley, a great dog. I sat with Marley for a long time, then I called the doctor. I'm ready now, I said. I held Marley's head and the doctor gave Marley something. It didn't hurt him. He died quietly. I want to take Marley home, I said. 2 people brought a large black bag out to my car. Then I thanked the doctor and drove away. When I got home, the children were in bed. I put my arms around Jenny and we cried for a long time. Later we went outside. We took the black bag out of the car and put it into the garage. Next morning, Jenny told the children about Marley. They were very sad and started to cry. It's okay, I said. When you have a dog, this always happens. Dogs don't live as long as people. Connor made a picture and wrote a letter for Marley to Marley. I loved you all my life. You were always there when I wanted you. Your brother, Connor, Richard Grogan. Colleen made a picture of a girl with a big yellow dog. She wrote under the picture, I will never forget you, Marley. I found a very good place for Marley in the ground under 2 big fruit trees. I put the black bag in the ground and Jenny and the children watched. After I finished, everybody said, We love you, Marley. Then we went back to the kitchen and told stories about Marley. Sometimes we laughed and sometimes we cried. The next days were very difficult. The house was very quiet. When I came home at night, there was no Marley. Jenny cleaned the house, but his fur was everywhere. On morning, when I put on my shoes, I found some of Marley's fur inside them. Marley was my dog for 13 years. He wasn't an obedient dog, but he was important in my life. I wanted to tell other people about him. So I wrote about him in my newspaper. Nobody called Marley a great dog. Or a good dog, I wrote. He was wild and crazy. He had to leave obedience school. He chewed things and he wasn't very intelligent. But he understood people's feelings and he was very good with children. A person can learn a lot from a dog. Because of him, I listened to my feelings. Because of him, I enjoyed winter sunlight in the snow and a walk in the woods. Because of him, I can be a good friend. A dog can show us the important things in life. A dog is interested in fast cars or big houses or expensive clothes. Give a dog your love and he will give you his. Many people read about Marley in the newspaper. Animal lovers called me and wrote to me. They wrote to me about their love for dogs. They wrote about their feelings when their dogs died. Many people wrote funny stories about their dogs. Some people wrote, Marley wasn't the worst dog in the world. My dog's the worst dog in the world. I began to feel better. I took the letters home and showed them to Jenny. She laughed too. Winter came to an end and it was spring. Our yard was full of flowers. I didn't think about Marley all the time. When I thought about him, I usually remembered the happy days. In many ways, life without a dog was easier. The house and the yard were clean. We could enjoy going out to dinner. But something about our family wasn't right. One morning Jenny showed me the newspaper. "Look at this." She said it was an ad for a dog. I saw a photo of a big yellow Labrador. I looked at the photo. Then I looked again. "That's Marley," I said. "It isn't Marley," said Jenny. "Look." Under the photo was the dog's name. Lucky. I read. "I'm looking for a new home and a new family. I want a quiet home because I'm a little wild." We read the ad and looked at the photo again. We didn't say anything for some time. Then I said, "We can go and look at him." "Yes," said Jenny. "Why not?"